Well, hello, Ben Rano again. I'm here to just kind of give an extension to the vlog you just watched, and I want to talk about some weird stuff which I bought recently. And trust me, it's weird. Today is November 3rd, 2014, here in Wisconsin, and I'm probably the only person who's bought one of these anytime recently. Thumbs up if you know what it is. Oh, it's a Blackberry Playbook. It's a near useless tablet, which I'm sure at the time it came out, it seemed like a fairly hefty sized machine, but now this tablet has a 7-inch screen, and you know, phones are getting bigger and bigger. Pretty soon, phones are going to be the size of this tablet, which when it came out 3 years ago seemed pretty big. But yeah, so I got a Blackberry Playbook because I got the Blackberry Z10. I fell in love with it, and I figured I could get one of these for cheap and give it a shot. Well, turns out the one that I got, the Wi-Fi doesn't work. Fail. So, Blackberry Playbook, essentially a brick because the Wi-Fi doesn't work. It seems to be a pretty solid piece of hardware, though. Wish it worked. I could give you my impressions on it, but maybe next time. Let's see, what else have I gotten recently? Oh, this is weird. Thumbs up if you know what this is. This is a old school sound recorder, and these used to be all the rage. Now I don't even think they make them anymore. I think Sony makes one. You'll see a lot of reporters using these, especially professional ones, because at the top you can plug in a microphone or headphones and then just like pull that microphone from somebody's face when you're interviewing them. It's really convenient, and this works really well. The sound quality is great. The interface is really good. It's a very good device for doing just that, recording audio, and I really like it. Picked it up at a rummage sale for $2.50. Little did I know these things are getting rare, and they're worth like $50. So if you see one of these, pick them up. They're really cool, and you'll probably end up keeping it, honestly, but they are worth a good amount of money otherwise, so good purchase. Let's see, what else? So back in like 2005 through 2009, MP3 players were all the rage. And that's because we were still in the iPod generation and those products were still going through. Well, I never wanted an iPod, so, and plus they're a bit expensive. But even though they weren't, I've always been contrarian, as I said. So what I was interested in was the Sony Mylo. And can you see? Darn, it's hard to see it, but there's actually Mylo etched into this case. I thought it was really cool. It was basically it was an MP3 player style device made by Sony. Cost as much or more than the PSP, so the value proposition wasn't really there, but it did have some features the PSP didn't have. For one, it had a built-in camera on the back here. Pathetic resolution. By today's standards, I mean this is 6 years old. I think it was maybe 2 megapixels. It was probably VGA though. And other than that, it has a pretty small battery, speaker, stuff like that. Hooks up to Wi-Fi. It's a really cool design though, because you got this little joystick here for controlling everything, and it's got a touch screen, but the touch screen's resistive, so that means you gotta use a stylus, if you remember these, and you gotta click the little stuff on the screen. And when this was out, I thought it was awesome because you get a YouTube app, and it was kind of like an iPhone in that way, and like you could get some really cool stuff on it. But yeah, it doesn't hold up at all anymore, and the web browser can barely even render a single website. So I guess it's one of those cases of never meet your heroes, because you know, as much as I always adored and looked up to this device back when I was into MP3 players, it definitely doesn't hold up. Still a really cool design, just horribly outdated internet devices from 6 years ago. Crap. Speaking of which, let me grab one more thing. Let's see here. I've got this, which I also picked up recently. This isn't 6 years old, this is 5 years old, but it is a HTC Hero. Actually, this is my second smartphone. This is not this particular one because I got rid of it years ago, but I picked this up just for curiosity's sake, and it was running Android 1.5. To put it in perspective, we're on Android 4.4.4, so, Android 1.5 was one of the first releases of Android, if not the first release of Android, and it ran horribly slow, and there was about 8 apps in the Play Store, which was ridiculous, so it's kind of funny why I picked this up. And what's more funny, though, is back resolution camera. I mean, the back camera's resolution is 5 megapixels, which it's funny because the newest HTC phone, the HTC One, it doesn't even have a 5 megapixel camera, so you win some, you lose some, right? Ha, yeah, ultra pixels all the way, maybe. But let's see what else do we have here. Audio CD. This is the other thing I wanted to talk about. I've started to become a bit of an audiophile lately, so right behind me I've got this stereo, and below it I've got some JBL speakers, and basically after I started loading up on CDs, I started to burn them all to the computer and listen to them on the stereo, and I found out that streaming services and listening to songs on Pandora and things like that, the quality comes through at about 3 to 4 megabytes per song, which is abysmal, because if you actually rip a song from a CD onto your computer or just put it in the CD player, the bit rate is so much higher, and that basically means per second how much data it's putting out. So a whole ripped song from a CD to your computer is around 36 megabytes. So years ago we had to worry about low storage spaces when MP3 players were still a scarce thing, but we don't have to worry about that anymore. So start getting the raw audio files and start listening to music in its full uncompressed glory, and there's just so much more to each song, and they sound great. So I've just been listening to songs on the stereo, and that's been really cool. So I've been picking up audio CDs. Next thing, let's see here. I'll talk about this first. This is a Game Boy Advance SP. So, Game Boys, they're at rummage sales all the time, and the SP was something I had growing up, so I can't say no to them because they always are selling them so cheap. So for like $2 or whatever, I got this Game Boy Advance SP, almost perfectly working. The weird thing is, when you close it though, it doesn't go to sleep like the DS does, or like this is supposed to do. It stays on, so I gotta keep an eye on it. And I've been playing Pokemon Leaf Green, for your information. Blast from the past. I actually haven't played in a few days, but maybe I'll get back to it, maybe not. And one last thing, let's see what we got here. This is the Moga. This is a leather case for a game controller, but what's it for? It's for Android devices, and they also make these for iPhones too. I believe they all use the same buttons. So what you do is you get out your Moga, and then you flip this up, and then you can use this to latch your smartphone in there. I'll give you an example. So I've got my Droid Max here, so you can put that in there, and you've just got like a really good gaming rig. And I've really liked it so far. The only problem is I wish more games were compatible. Quite a few are, but I think more will be coming in the future. It's really good because it's Bluetooth. It takes AA's, which isn't so good, but they seem to last forever, so I wouldn't worry about it. It's just got really solid controls, trigger buttons, 2 joysticks. Kind of feels like a modern controller, and this is what Android needs. I'll give up on mobile gaming consoles as soon as these start becoming a thing, because it's really cool to just be able to lug around a controller and take advantage of the amazing hardware on a phone, as opposed to having to buy another piece of hardware simply because of propriety when it comes to Sony or Nintendo. So, Moga controller, great idea. Not the best executed, but I think since it's the first out there, I think it's going to continue to gain momentum and become the one that we're all using. One more thing I can think of at this point is the Sega 32X. So I also picked this up recently, and this is a mushroom-shaped console that you set on top of your Sega Genesis, and it was supposed to kind of be the poor man's next generation console. So it's a 32-bit system that you plug into your Genesis, and it was cheap, $200, but since you needed the Genesis, it was almost 400, so the value proposition kind of dissipated. But it's really rare, popular with collectors. I wouldn't consider it a very good system, but I just got it because I got it for a really good deal. $20 at the local game store complete. Picked up a copy of Virtua Fighter for it, and I can't wait to try it out and see how it works. I want to see if it's as bad as everyone makes it out to be, basically. But yeah, that covers most of the purchases which I've had recently, and I'll probably be talking about more later on. But if you have any questions about any of them, just feel free to leave them. Otherwise, thanks for watching. This is vlog continued, my weird purchases. See you next time.